What's going on, you guys? Welcome to episode number 16 of the Gamefall Podcast. I am Kyle Sherman, and seated here to my right is Mr. John McVeigh.
Nintendo Online, it's okay. We'll get into that later.
John, providing spoilers for you, we will get into his first impressions of Nintendo Switch Online, but John...
We have other things to do first.
We do have other things to do. And that is some news items. Last week we talked about Spider-Man, a Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4. Great game. In case you missed it, we're not going to, we spoiled things for you, but if you want to, you can go back and watch it. But we both rate it as a must-buy. But today, we're getting back into the news, John. And you know how many we have today? We got a baker's dozen for you.
13?
A literal baker's dozen worth of stories. And John, you want to just jump right in?
Let's jump right in.
All right, first story. All these stories today coming from IGN News, a great aggregator of news stories. So we will be crediting them and their authors here as we go. First one coming from Shabana Arif. Nice. Again, IGN. Capcom expected to lose $40 million after canceling a game from Dead Rising Studios. The studio that created Dead Rising, and so they're expected to take a $40 million hit. That's 4.5 billion yen, or 30.5 million euros, and that's because of what happened at its Vancouver studio, Capcom Vancouver.
Yeah, they shut it down, right?
Yeah, well, they laid off about 30% of their studio staff, and they canceled an unannounced game, and it's going to end up costing them $40 million in losses, but because of the success of Monster Hunter, they're sort of expecting to break even. Monster Hunter World.
Good on you, Monster Hunter. Good on you.
So it was a third-person action adventure that set in an alternate reality version of New York was what was to be expected. And that's also along with the news that the scope of the next Dead Rising game is going to be cut back a little bit. So Capcom, I'm not sure about that. Dead Rising, one of your tentpole franchises.
Mm-hmm. But
so cutting it back a little bit.
To be fair, it hasn't been doing as well recently. At least from a fan fever standpoint.
Yeah,
I haven't really seen anyone clamor for another Dead Rising.
That's true. I mean, when it first came out, it was kind of a unique sort of thing.
Yeah.
But now there's so many zombie games and
Resident
stuff.
Evil 7 was returned to form, so people are getting their fixes in other places.
Yeah, but I mean, it's tough to see people lose their jobs, but the good news is the video game industry is indeed still thriving, so hopefully all those people will be able to get positions elsewhere in the industry.
I'm sure they'll get picked up somewhere.
Alright, next item here, coming from Take-Two Interactive, or regarding Take-Two Interactive, and this one coming from our boy Nick Santangelo. Shout out to Nick.
Hey.
Haven't met you, but we love your work. And that is Take-Two CEO says the future of console gaming, the consoles will not have a closed system wall. Will not have closed system walls. So he's saying, this kind of comes,
if you will.
Yeah, and this is coming on the heels of all the heat on Sony for not wanting to do cross-play with Microsoft and PC. So Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick says that the future is going to be that there's going to be no walls, essentially. So and that, cross-platform play will be the norm. He thinks we're already heading there. And he says, according to the article, he says, the quote, the closed system walls are coming down and they have to. Streaming is going to accelerate those walls coming down. We're all here for the customers. If you're going to create rules that don't benefit the customers, but somehow think benefit your enterprise, you're mistaken. Consumers will go elsewhere. You have to pay attention to what the consumer wants.
Basically calling out Sony right there. Not directly, but indirectly.
And, I think that there will be cross-platform in the future. Yeah, I mean, I think that is inevitably going to happen. I don't necessarily agree with his premise that people are going to jump ship to go elsewhere. Are people really going to jump who own, PlayStation exclusive? Are they going to jump to Xbox just so they can play Fortnite with people on PC? I don't think so.
You can play Fortnite with people on PC on the PlayStation. You just can't play with Xbox and Nintendo.
Yeah. I'm just saying, are you really going to jump ship over that?
You might not jump ship on your current console, but you might cross back over or crossover for your next purchase, which I think is what he's trying to say. Because lots of people crossed over from the 360 to the PS4 because Microsoft was a little greedy back in the day.
Yeah, in my mind, yes, I think that's going to be the way that happens, but I think his premise that cross-platform play is going to be the hill that people die on,
I don't necessarily think...
I don't think that's
people are going to die on it. I think people are going to look at what their buddy that always play games buys, and they'll probably go with that, or who the majority of their friends are. They'll go with that system.
And that sort of happened with us, where we started on Xbox. The 360 was sort of where we got into, multiplayer gaming and that sort of thing. And then Microsoft did frustrating things, and when they announced the new consoles, we're like, especially the game sharing thing and all that stuff that happened initially with the Xbox, we're like, see ya, plus all the good exclusives at the time were on PlayStation or coming to the PS4. Mm-hmm. Halo had kind of
fizzed.
Yeah, I mean, the peak was Halo 3, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. And, things like that. That was the big exclusive. Mass Effect wasn't console exclusive anymore to the Xbox. Only the first one was, but, so things like that. And it was like, okay, well, I'll jump over. And PlayStation Plus was the only one giving away free games at the time. And there's a lot of things that drew us over there, and that's where we've been since. I own an Xbox One. You don't, but you own a Nintendo Switch. I don't. Not that I don't want to Switch, but we have our bases covered, and there's certain games I want to play on the Xbox with friends. Sports games, I play pretty much exclusively on the Xbox now because that's the friends that play sports games all have the Xbox.
Just imagine you could buy your sports games on one system and play with the people on the Xbox.
It would be nice, but it's not the hill I'm going to die on.
It benefits the consumer and the developer. It does not necessarily benefit the platform holder.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really any doubt that's going to happen. What I would like to see eventually is me be able to make one account and be able to access all online play. I pay $60 for PlayStation Plus. I can use the same account to log in on my Xbox. But that's not going to happen. So I like a single login.
Minecraft has the Xbox login, but it's because Xbox owns it.
Yes.
But
moving on to our next item. Jumping on the coattails of Nintendo and their success of their retro consoles, Sony has announced that a PlayStation Classic will be coming to consumers. The PlayStation Classic, which will come with 20 preloaded games, will be released December 3rd with an MSRP of $99.99 US dollars, $129.99 in Canada, and $150 Australian.
Brought to you by Lucy O'Brien.
Yes, this brought to you by Lucy O'Brien, but this one, sweeping the internet as well. Sony, it will come with Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, Wild Arms, Jumping Flash, Ridge Racer Type 4, and other, quote, legendary titles. It's approximately 45% smaller than the original PlayStation, and they've emulated the original packaging as much as possible. Each unit will come with an HDMI and USB cable and 2 original controllers.
No joysticks.
Although you will have to buy a compatible USB AC adapter, which is not included, to use the console.
They did clarify that it will work with most smartphone chargers. So you can just plug it into your smartphone wall hub.
John, does this hype you up? Does this excite you?
I never owned a PlayStation Classic, and every PlayStation title you read on that is not hyping me up at all.
Yeah, where's Spyro? Where's Crash Bandicoot?
Right.
Where's Jet Moto?
Right.
Where's the original Gran Turismo?
Was SSX on there?
No.
It was a snowboarding game.
1080 degree snowboarding. Where's that? No, that's ignore me.
64.
That was my favorite first snowboarding game. John, you want to know why this doesn't excite me?
It's wired.
Because I own original PlayStation still.
And you own it, and you can't put discs in it. So.
And guess what? I have 3 Jet Moto games.
Yeah, he's got everything he needs.
So
it's also $100. That's not very exciting to me.
No, and if it had more games and especially more of the classics, to me,
I feel like at that price point it should have more games.
Exactly. Or the ability to eventually get more games for it or something.
Which they said is not going to happen.
No.
So you're going to have to break it, hack it to get more games on it.
No. So, I mean, that's cool. And if you want to play, Final Fantasy VII obviously is huge. Way up there in the echelon of Final Fantasy games. So if that excites you, but John and I aren't Final Fantasy guys, and the games that I like to play on the original PlayStation aren't on that list.
Nope.
Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Jet Moto being the big 3.
Mm-hmm. Plus, Crash and Spyro are imagined in
Crash available
better
now,
on
Spyro soon.
Which I'm excited about.
Yes, I know. You're more excited about Spyro than Crash.
Oh yeah.
I still need to buy Crash, but the problem is games like God of War and Spider-Man came out, and so that was my priority. Hey, guess what? We've talked about Spider-Man in the last 2 weeks. If you haven't seen those,
Jump back.
Go watch them. Last week's
Beat the
spoiler
game first.
filled. Yeah. So, but 2 weeks ago, episode number 14,
Just
spoiler free.
Yeah.
Next news item here coming from, again, Shabana Arif. PUBG. That would be PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Looks like it's finally heading to the PS4. Now, this is not official, according to Shabana Arif. That PUBG has, for the PS4, has been spotted on the Korean ratings board website, signaling a future announcement. Almost a year after Bluehole announced it was in talks with Sony about a PUBG PS4 release, it's been spied now on the ratings board, suggesting it's finally coming. John, PUBG, pretty popular, finally just came out in full release for the Xbox, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is a little too late because Call of Duty Blackout is coming, and apparently...
And people are hyped about it.
Are in love.
They are hyped about it. They have
PUBG,
loved it.
You lost your chance.
John, speaking of Call of Duty Blackout, we have a little Call of Duty Blackout news for you here. This news coming from Brian Bennett, and he says Call of Duty Black Ops 4 DLC is coming first to the PlayStation 4, and there's some initial post-launch details revealed as well. PS4 getting the DLC first, not surprised. We heard about Call of Duty signing that deal with Sony a while ago, but it's going to be one of those things where it's a month before it comes out on Xbox. But that's whatever in my mind. I guess if you're super into the DLC,
great.
You can play it on the PS4 or whatever. Some initial post-launch information. Their first free support, which will include the addition of a revamped version of a number of fan favorite map Nuketown, will come out in November, and in December there will be the inclusion of new specialist types. Can't talk right now.
Lovely.
So there you go. That's some of the news. Of course, what everybody's really hyped about is the Battle Royale mode, and that was part of the big, thing for the
basically
beta
saying
that just happened.
A final, polished AAA version of Battle Royale, and they all really like it. So,
but John and I will not be playing that game or purchasing that game because it doesn't have a story. And
if you like all that stuff, I'm happy for you. Have fun.
John, speaking of games with fun gameplay
and single player options,
Rocket League has surpassed 50 million players. This according to Nick Santangelo, again of IGN. After 3 years after its initial release, Rocket League continues to haul in the players. 50 million players total have played the game, according to Psyonix when they tweeted out, Rocket League now has more than 50 million players worldwide. Thank you to our ever-growing global community for helping us reach this incredible milestone.
Why do you think that is, Kyle?
Because it's damn fun. That's why.
They do free updates.
Yes.
All the time. Continuously.
I remember when they put out basketball. That was kind of different fun.
That's cool.
Put out
the
hockey.
Square.
Yeah, the different cute, ball types.
Change the gravity.
They actually have a different one now, too. Another new mode. I fired it up the other day just to see what was going on. And there was a mode where the ball is like a bomb. It damages the floor, and if it hits that spot again, it'll fall through. That's how you score points.
Cool.
And you each have half to protect. So it was different. But they keep updating it. They keep giving new content. And so, good on them. The team at Psyonix just continues to support it. And they just made a great game initially. Got a lot of hype right off the bat. And it continues to serve its fans, which is awesome.
Nothing else to say.
Nothing else to say there. Hey, John.
Yes.
THQ Nordic news here.
What about it?
They're making some headlines here lately. Colin Stevens reporting THQ Nordic acquiring Alone in the Dark and Active War from Atari. So a couple new IP acquisitions here for THQ Nordic. And they've been making a lot of moves lately. So both those titles were previously held by Atari, though Alone in the Dark was the bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
Older games, but it's kind of interesting that THQ Nordic is scooping up these IPs. Be interesting to see what they do, because they also recently, acquired the Kingdoms of Amalur IP. So they could be making moves. You never know what
I hope this Darksiders 3 does well for them, because they're really blowing a lot of money buying all this stuff.
Although, your hope of a,
Kingdoms of Amalur game has been reignited.
Yes, but the problem is EA still holds the publishing rights. So there's some barriers there, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So, grain of salt there, John. Sorry. Next news item here. Colin Stevens reporting PlayStation will now let you download PS4 and PS2 games to play offline.
Hallelujah. So basically responding to Game Pass's response of PlayStation Now.
So PlayStation Now finally allowing you to do that.
PlayStation Now actually worthwhile, at least on, an interim basis. Like, hey, no games coming out. I got a month to kill. I'll slap $10 down, download a few games, and have some fun.
Yeah, and a little bit cheaper still than Games Pass overall.
I'm guessing
it's $100 for a year for PlayStation Now.
Okay.
And essentially $120 for Games Pass.
Right.
But the thing with Games Pass, which makes it a little bit better, is the fact that you can play new games with Games Pass. All the Microsoft exclusives are coming to Games Pass.
Yeah.
So still a little bit more value there, a little bit more bang for your buck. But it's nice to see that PlayStation's acknowledging that was an issue and working to remedy that situation. So positive steps, and that's what competition will do. It forces each company to step up their game and do things for the...
Happy to see they're doing it now instead of waiting for a new console.
Yes. John.
Yes.
Have you heard of this game called Fortnite?
Yeah, it's a piece of shit.
Well, I feel like we have to mention the game. It's always in the headlines, and this one coming from Colin Stevens again. Fortnite had its biggest month ever in August with 78.3 million players. That's an insane number.
I don't think I was one of those players.
I was not for August.
I did play it. I just don't remember if I played it in August.
I don't think I've played it since May.
Okay.
Personally.
Again, Battle Royale, it's not our thing.
No.
But apparently it's a lot of people's thing. 78.3 million is massive.
So, I mean, just, Fortnite continues to get big, and the free support that it gets is huge.
And it will actually still be okay when Blackout comes out, because Blackout, no building in Blackout. So, Fortnite, there you go.
It'll be different, but for people who want to play the Battle Royale mode but still love their hardcore first-person shooters, they'll be migrating to Blackout.
Yeah.
But there is still a very big core of people who like the third-person aspect and the building aspect of Fortnite that'll stick with it. And speaking of that support that Fortnite, continues to... Epic provides, Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
They've announced the start date for Season 6. According to Nick Santangelo, it will officially kick off September 27th, so that will be after... It'll be in full swing by the time you see this. So, Fortnite Season 6, it's, they continue to change things up, so good for them, and there's some bonus XP opportunities as well, but we're not going to dwell on that because, again, Fortnite, not really our thing, but just wanted to let people know if they did have interest. John, this is kind of a big news story, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts on it. Twitch, the popular streaming network, has been blocked in China, according to Michael Kozwara on IGN. I hope I said your name right. I'm sorry if I didn't, but...
There's a lot of letters.
You did provide a phonetic pronunciation, so I don't know. But he says, Twitch has been blocked in China. Despite a boom in popularity last month, it has been blocked. Users who wish to download the Twitch app in China will find themselves disappointed as the app has been removed from respective mobile app stores. Likewise, trying to access it through a web browser will simply not connect you to the site. China, very infamous for its censorship of media and games and all the above, free speech even. So disappointing to see, but not all that surprising to me overall, because it's a platform for free speech and they don't like to provide a whole lot of that. John, what are your thoughts on this story?
basically, I blame all the tariff stuff happening. I'm kidding. I think, it was bound to happen eventually. I mean, when you have a platform where it's hard to control what people say, what people put on it, it's not something that's a product of your country. So I could also see them just dropping it because it's not a product of their country. And if you don't want people to accidentally say things that you might feel don't reflect your country well or negative to your politics, I mean, yeah, they have the power to shut it down. They've acted on that power. Sucks for citizens in China that were used to using Twitch and enjoyed Twitch. There's not much you can do, though. That is their country's rules, and you have to follow them.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate.
I think it's a loss for China.
It is, and it's a loss for their gamers because there is a huge video game culture in China and in the Asian continent as a whole, but
is it going to negatively impact sales of video games, though? I'm not really sure. We'll have to wait and see how that shakes out.
But again, it's tough for a lot of Western games to make it to the Chinese market without some sort of censorship, and they're very particular. And it's the 21st century.
Australia also famously censory in their video games. There's lots of times where companies have to edit things before it gets allowed into the country. So it's not the first time
for some weird things too. So, but it is what it is, and it's unfortunate for the people of China. But again, like we said, not all that surprising due to their censorship that they have in that country, and Twitch being a platform where a lot of people can gain notoriety and send out a message that the people in power might not necessarily like. So.
Yep.
Hopefully it makes its return, but you never know. I'm not holding my breath on that. But moving on to our penultimate news item here, and this one a very sad one indeed. Coming again from IGN, this one being reported by Jordan Sirani, and that is the Walking Dead developer Telltale Games has reportedly laid off a majority of its staff and will only retain about 25 employees. This is a really unfortunate thing. Telltale Games was huge there for a bit. The Walking Dead, especially the first season, was hugely popular despite all of its issues. You and I both played it. Really a different style of game and a kind of a fun, different experience. They went on to do
it's like a choose your own
Tales
adventure.
from the Borderland, The Wolf Among Us,
which they've canceled.
Yeah, Minecraft story mode, all these things, and they're on the third and final season of The Walking Dead, and this has really changed things up. So those 25 employees will not be working on any of those other titles. They'll be working on finishing Minecraft story mode for Netflix.
Weird.
Yes, indeed. But
not sure what that's about.
I think it's an animated show for Netflix, maybe. I don't know. But this means that The Walking Dead, the final season, will conclude after episode 2. They're not going to finish that. They had already announced a second season of The Wolf Among Us. That's not happening anymore. And so, it's kind of, it's a big thing. A lot of people lost their jobs, and the Walking Dead final season will end after episode 2. I don't know exactly where this came from. I don't know if it's a downturn in sales for the Telltale, style games or what, but
I have a theory.
So only 25 employees being kept on to work on that, and pretty much all their future projects are done.
Maybe you should have spent some time working on your game engine before doing 19 other of the games with the Telltale, Borderlands version, Game of Thrones, Batman, all that stuff. And then maybe, I think it was a little bit of spreading too thin, not fixing the game engine, because I only played The Walking Dead. I didn't go and play the other ones because I got tired of having it drop the screen so I can't see anything, but the game's still running, and I have to try and guess what I have to do next, and then I die, and then my game save gets eaten, and it was frustrating. The story was really good. If they'd have just, I think it was just, spreading yourself too thin. It's very unfortunate for the crew that got laid off there. I know people losing their jobs is always a bad thing. I hope they can rise back up to prominence again so they can hopefully hire some people back.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely gameplay issues, which we and I have talked about, nonstop about that being an issue for us. The game needs to play well if you really want us to be hooked in and say it's a must-buy. Like, really, like you said, really enjoyed the first season of The Walking Dead, but there were so many hiccups and things like that it just was like...
Deterred me from buying anything.
Yeah, I wasn't really all that interested in buying the second one because, like, if it's going to play like that, I'm not really into it. I mean, it was fun, it was novel, and it's unfortunate to see, so many people lose their jobs, but hopefully they land on their feet. Again, we've talked about it before, it's still a thriving world out there for game developers, so hopefully all those people end up with new gigs, and I'm sure if you worked at Telltale, that's a studio with some name recognition, so hopefully they catch on elsewhere.
Yeah.
Final news story of the day, and it kind of will lead into our topic of the show, which would be John's initial thoughts on Nintendo Switch Online, and this one coming from Nick Santangelo.
Switch owners can now play their games on more than one console. Hallelujah.
With the release of 6.0,
yes.
Nintendo Switch operating system, the 6.0, yesterday, Switch owners now have the ability to play their downloaded games and content on a second console due to the functionality works, having users designate a primary and non-primary consoles through their Nintendo account. John, is this exciting to you?
This is not exciting to me because I don't have to play it on a second console. I can literally pick it up and walk wherever I want to go. Cloud saves, again, not that exciting to me. I can pick up my game, drag it to someone else's house. The save is still in the system, so it's not like I have to download it from the internet. What I do like about cloud saves is if my Switch gets destroyed, I have the ability to take that cloud save and put it on a new Switch, which is great. If you're playing at a friend's house and you forgot your Switch, being able to play your games on that second console, also nice. You have to be connected to the internet for the entirety of the time, though, just so it can briefly check again to make sure. If you do lose internet connection, it will pause the game, wait for you to continue to get internet connection, and then let you resume from there. So,
and if somebody jumps back on the game on your primary console, you will get disconnected.
Kicked off completely.
So there you go, John. I mean, I think it's nice that they're finally allowing, recognizing your account on multiple consoles.
I think it's frustrating you get kicked off if someone logs into your primary console.
But it wouldn't be the first time.
No.
It wouldn't be the first time because that happens on the PlayStation if somebody...
I also think it's hokey that not every game can cloud save.
It's time now for the topic of the show, John, before I let you go any further. And this is the one and only John McVeigh's initial review of Nintendo Switch Online. And John, I know one of the things that excited you was some of the retro content available.
Oh, yeah.
And I want you to talk about that experience so far. But first, let me hear your overall thoughts on the first few days of your experience with Nintendo Switch Online.
First few days of Nintendo Switch Online experience are highly unremarkable. I didn't notice a giant increase in bandwidth. It wasn't like a magical switch was flicked and nothing ever drops anymore, and downloads are super smooth, and jumping into an online match is easy as pie, because those things were fairly simple already. The only time I really lost internet connection when I played a game before was when there was someone with bad internet, or I had bad internet at the time, and that's the case still now. So as far as internet goes on there, that's a status quo, and really we just started paying them $20 a year, so I'm not expecting a giant increase in amazingness yet. Now if it's like 5 years down the road and everything still works exactly the same as how it did before, then I might get a little upset. So as far as that goes, for overall experience, I'd say there's some features that have been put in for my $20 that I appreciate, such as the cloud saves, the virtual console. But overall, not anything really like super exciting to report.
Well, I was going to say, I know that you've tested out the cloud save feature.
Automatic cloud saves. I don't know what the heck's going on there. They're not automatically backing up on everything, so that's frustrating. But you can just turn that off, back it up real quick, and then I turned it back on. I had to manually do that for a few games. About half of the games did it just fine by themselves, so I don't know how it's deciding. Maybe it just picks 10 games or whatever to do each day. So it doesn't look like it's trying to auto-update every day, which I found was interesting. I don't know if you have to have it hooked into the dock. It wasn't very clear. But you can just manually do it, and it works just fine. If you can't do cloud saves, the game will tell you when you try to do the cloud save it's not available. So that's nice that it tells you. But that's really all there is to report on that. It uploads, it works fine. You can download it, it works fine. Just like how cloud save should work.
That's nice to know that they function just like they're supposed to. Yeah, the automatic update thing, that sounds weird to me. Every other console I have, although I know if it's a game I haven't played in a while, PlayStation doesn't necessarily automatically update it.
They update, I think
the games
PlayStation knows when your save files are newer, and then it just updates it from there.
Yeah, probably if you haven't played in the last month or something, it probably doesn't prioritize it.
And I think it checks to see if it's the same or if it's changed.
Yeah, because I mean, I know I fired up, what was it the other night? I guess it might have been... Oh, I fired up Netflix for the first time in a while. I lent my dad my Apple TV here as he recuperates.
Nice.
And so I had to fire up Netflix on my PlayStation 4 for the first time in a long time. And it was like, oh yeah, update. Because I don't think I've used that in 2 years. So.
Oh yeah, you need to update. For sure.
So yeah, it updated and I was like, okay. I figured it would be up to date, but I guess, yeah, it doesn't update if you don't use it frequently enough. But I know games like Ark, Survival Evolved, No Man's Sky, Spider-Man, obviously, God of War have all updated. Although I don't know if I have God of War on my hard drive anymore. It might be one I have to re-download.
Anyway,
if I want to play it again. Anyway,
updating the newer ones.
Yeah. So John, that takes us to the shiny new feature that comes with it. The Virtual Console, getting to play those classic games on the Nintendo Switch. What are your thoughts? Tell me. What's your experience?
I really want the Nintendo controllers now. The original ones. After playing with the Joy-Con. No, it's a Virtual Console, and it was a little bit more robust than I was originally anticipating. I was just hoping it would play the game, just emulate it. I didn't expect them to go and do their full-out classic Virtual Console style, which is where you have different visual options to make it look more retro and more close to the original. They have the save states that you can do on top of the game. I think the games can save manually like regular. I haven't gone back into Zelda to see if my save file is still there or if I have to use load states forever permanently, but they give you 4 slots for each game. And it's got Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, which is 2 best games out there.
Classics. They're classics.
Zelda. River City Ransom was hilarious. I'd never played it before. I just jumped in and tried it out for a bit. Double Dragon, which is really fun. And most of the games have a 2-player mode, and you split your Joy-Con. There you go. Haven't tried any of the online functions on any of the games yet, but as far as the games running and working appropriately, it does an excellent job.
And I guess from your experience, I don't know the answer to this off the top of my head. Do you download those games or do you stream them?
So there's an app, the Nintendo Entertainment System online app. It's free to download for anybody, but to even use it, you have to have the Nintendo Online account. So you download that for free. You can do a free 7-day trial of Nintendo Online if you want, or you can just fork over.
Or it's $20 for a year.
Yeah, or you can just fork over the $20 like I did, and you get 20 games, roughly, right now.
There's another 10 that are going to come out next month.
Yeah, they're going to start adding every month, roughly. Excitebike's on there. Lots of good ones are on there.
That was the one I was excited for.
I'd never played that either, so I tried that. That was interesting. Yeah, that was the first time I ever played it.
You've played the Excite Bike Arena in Mario Kart.
Yeah. And now I know why it looks the way it does. I was like, this is kind of lame.
Mind blown.
Yeah. So, it was interesting.
Old school racer.
I like that these games are technically free with your online now.
Well, I mean, it's like Games with Gold.
Super Mario Brothers by itself was $5 on every stupid console. You had to rebuy it for $5. You don't have to do that anymore.
Well, you'd hope now with the online linked account that wouldn't be the case. That was the problem I had with the Nintendo Switch. Why I didn't want to buy a bunch of digital games was because of the fact that it wasn't linked to an account. It was just linked to my...
And so you're already getting Super Mario Brothers, which you would have bought anyway, so there's $5. Super Mario Brothers 3, which you would have bought, there's another $5. Legend of Zelda, you would have bought, there's another $5. You're already up at $15 out of your 20
one more
initial
game
purchase.
And it's worth it.
You play another game on the thing, boom, there's your what you would have had to pay $20 anyway to just get those games to play, period. I think in that aspect, paying the yearly fee was worth it. Am I going to play those games all the time? No. But when I get a hankering, I can jump in, and that's great. I only play them like maybe once every 2 or 3 years anyway, so it's not like I really needed to buy them, but now I don't have to. And
you can just jump in wherever you want.
Jump in wherever I want.
Well, okay, here's the thing, too, where I want to ask you, like, Games with Gold and... Again, there's construction going on.
PS Plus.
Right behind the camera. Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus. How often do we actually necessarily play all those games? We don't play them all the time. Every once in a while we get one where we're like, yes!
I'd say like 2 or 3 times a year there's a game that I download and play immediately.
Yeah. And then there's other games where you try them and you're like, okay, cool, but not my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of games I've tried that are like that. So... But here's I guess, part 2 of that. So, I mean, yeah, not all the games that are going to be available are going to be hit or ones that you love necessarily. And there's a huge library to choose from of those old games.
There's a huge library. Once you start the app, all of them are up, and then you just look and you're like, okay, well, this one looks kind of cool, I'll try it. And there's no loading it just goes. So everything's already been downloaded in, I guess, or it has to be downloaded in because you can play it offline for a week before you have to check back in.
And that's just to make sure that your subscription is still
current.
That's not like, you have to be online to play. It just wants to make sure that you're still an active Nintendo Switch Online user.
Yeah.
Then I guess part 2 of my question is Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus, you get some older games. I mean, not as old as, obviously, the classic games, but you get some older games and you get some newer games.
Yeah.
Is this something you'd like to see Nintendo eventually do? Maybe not necessarily Switch games, but would you like to see them throw in some N64 games, some GameCube games eventually, and maybe even like a Wii game?
That's exactly where I want this to lead. I want it to be, we've got the NES down. We're going to go now and try and kind of give you some Super Nintendo emulation. And then from there to the 64. Possibly I would be willing to see them do scale up to the GameCube. But I don't think...
the Wii is still current enough where that's not necessary.
And knowing Nintendo and how they like people to pay for their content, I don't think they would be willing to fork down and give for free Wii games. I think they would just sell those as HD remakes like they've been doing with the Wii U stuff.
Yeah, well, and I guess, I think too that makes sense, whereas GameCube and older...
Plus, I don't...
Not as easily accessible. Like, you can still get Wii games.
I feel like there's enough in both Joy-Con to do the Wii stuff, but I don't know for sure.
Maybe not perfectly.
Not perfectly. There's no IR sensor on the front. There's one on the back butt end, but there's no...
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to make some adjustments and stuff like that, because, well, and there's also no sensor that you're, aiming it at. So,
ideally, I'd want Super Mario 64, Wave Race... Yes. Rayman: The Great Escape 2, Banjo, which is never going to happen, Banjo-Kazooie 2, and then you could just stop right there, because that's all I need.
Alright, and then I guess
The phone app is still exactly how it was before the money grubbing went live. The only game that's on it is Splatoon 2 right now. I'm really hoping they slap in Mario Kart and Mario Tennis. Mario Tennis has gotten new modes since it went live, and it says you have to play them online, but if you actually open it up, you can do it all offline and just co-op couch play, and then it'll load your score up to online. So there's an online component to the local play, but they're going to have new characters, which I'm glad about. Let's see what else. The special offers. You have to be a Nintendo Online person to be able to buy the Nintendo Entertainment System Joy-Cons that's slapped to the side of the system. So that's the kind of stuff they're talking about for special offers right now. They're going to give you chances to play things, to get in-game skins and decals and all sorts of gobbly DLC junk for games that you play. I don't know if or when they're going to do discounts. They already have a discount on the store. It's 3% back if you buy everything digitally through their store. You can then take all those savings, apply them to any purchase on the eShop, including Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that you can actually buy Nintendo Switch Online using
with
points.
Gold points.
Yeah. So...
And I already have like $7.
My last question regarding the classic games. What do you want to see next? What's the next classic game that you love that you want to see come to the Switch?
Come to the Switch? Well, I mean, they'd have to re-release the trackpad, so because I would like the Olympics game for the Nintendo to come out with the 100-yard dash. You had to sit on the edge of the trackpad and go really fast, and then you could beat anybody. It was awesome.
You could simulate that with other things.
Yeah, I guess you could shake the Joy-Con.
Yeah, or hit the triggers.
Yeah.
There's other ways to do that, but all right. So initial thoughts are it's what you expected it to be essentially,
which is not amazing.
Yeah,
it added some extra features,
and hopefully they continue to add to it. But I mean, here at initial launch, this is it's sort of what you expected and that sort of thing. And I guess from what you were saying, it was kind of what I expected. It's like PlayStation Plus. You're paying for it. I mean, you're getting some things back with the game, but, mostly you're paying for the online functionality and the ability to, play online, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's never going to be, I guess, a great, shiny thing, but it adds,
It adds value. It doesn't add amazing value, but it does add value.
Hopefully they can use it to add servers and make things more reliable.
I think that's why they started doing it.
Can do more maintenance work and improvements on the network.
Because they've been free for forever, and I haven't had an issue. I haven't been frustrated by them. Doom played just fine before the update. So, multiplayer, as far as like getting into a match and everything, that hasn't been a nightmare. So, maybe my expectations are just really low compared to other people.
Some people expect them, and some people have reasonable expectations, and it's all about managing those expectations. That's my thing. And this is Nintendo. This wasn't billed as some great big thing. It was billed as you're gonna have to pay to play online, but you're gonna get a little bit back with the classic games. But it's gonna hopefully improve the overall experience on the Switch. Being able to do cloud saves, being able to, add some additional functionality like that, auto updates and that sort of thing. But this is it's more of a functionality update, not a necessary huge change. So
and that's why it's $20.
Yeah, and $20 is completely reasonable for what they're asking for, and people think that's ridiculous that they're asking for that.
If you think it's ridiculous,
you pay $60 a year for PlayStation or Xbox.
If you think it's ridiculous, don't buy it. If you're really frustrated that you got to play Splatoon 2 for a year and a half for free, I'm sorry for you. But when they came out with the system, they said, we're going to make you pay. Eventually. They pushed that back by at least a year from their original intent. So, we got to play for free for a long time. Yes, it sucks we have to pay now. That's how they want us to do it. If you don't like that, don't buy it. And if enough people don't buy it, maybe they'll change it, but I don't feel like enough people are not going to buy it. I feel like people are going to look at it, be like, it's cheaper than PlayStation Plus. I still get cloud saves. It's not amazing. I still get cloud saves. I get my old classic Nintendo stuff on my Switch, which is what I've been asking for 2 years. So they're going to go ahead and do it. Sucks for everybody else. But if you want to play online, you want to download those virtual consoles, it's worth the purchase right now. If you don't want to do those two things, wait.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
And to paraphrase a famous quote, it is what we thought it is, essentially. And that'll wrap things up for John's review of Nintendo Switch Online. Initial impressions of Nintendo Switch Online, not your review, just your initial impressions. Because it's going to be an ongoing, evolving thing.
Yeah. And we can't really review something that's ongoing. I can give you impressions along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but before we wrap things up here today, it's something we do hit and miss because sometimes we shoot multiple episodes at one time. And so, we spent a lot of time talking about the last game we were playing, Spider-Man PS4. Go watch our review.
Hashtag spectacular.
Episode 15 for the spoiler review. Episode 14
for the spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free, exactly. But John, this brings up a big question. What's next? What are you going to play now? Tell me. I'm listening.
Well, you made me finish Spider-Man.
I did.
So now I'm all depressed. I guess I'll probably go back to playing games on my Switch. Oh, I might return to Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon until Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu arrives in November.
I guess I'm also at a crossroads. I haven't been necessarily playing a whole lot since I beat Spider-Man. Been doing other things, been busy with things. I think... I don't know what I started playing through it again, but at the same time, I'm waiting for New Game Plus to come out.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. But I think I might play a little more No Man's Sky or Ark Survival Evolved. I kind of have a little bit of an itch to play those again. I don't know if I want to invest the time in playing through God of War again yet, even though that has New Game Plus. I'm not in the right headspace to play that game at the moment. What I want to do is sort of fill some time until I can get my hands on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Maybe eventually the newest Tomb Raider game. I'm spacing its name off the top of my head. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Yes, thank you. That's a game that's a game I want to play, but that one's one I can wait on, just like I waited on Rise of the Tomb Raider. I waited a year for that.
I feel really bad for Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
It's definitely,
they really need to get
their overshadowed,
nailed down, because the last one suffered from how they released it. I feel like this one's going to suffer as well.
You released it right by Spider-Man.
So everyone on the PlayStation probably didn't buy it.
Yeah, if I had... essentially, I did. I'd choose, do I want to play Spider-Man or do I want to play Tomb Raider? I love the Tomb Raider franchise. I love those adventure-style games. Uncharted, those types of games, that sort of thing. So, it's definitely a game I have interest in, but I'm not going to choose it over Spider-Man. Or even Assassin's Creed, for that matter. So, it's just... It kind of, I think, hurt itself by being released between Spider-Man and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, in my mind. But... yeah, so I'm probably going to fill some time by playing, like I said, Ark Survival Evolved, No Man's Sky a little bit more. But I'm just filling time until I can get to Assassin's Creed.
It's all about filling time until the next release comes out.
So with that, we'll wrap things up. He's John McVeigh.
He is Kyle Sherman.
Gamefall Podcast number 16 in the books. We will catch you on the flip side. Bye. I switched it up.